everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lena and I am a sophomore at St. Lawrence University. Today, I will actually be doing a video that one of my viewers recommended. And speaking of viewers and or subscribers, as of today, I have 50 subscribers and I just want to thank everyone so much for the support. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. So today's video will be a review of all the courses that I've taken at St. Lawrence University thus far. I have completed 3 semesters at St. Lawrence, one of which was completely in person, one of which was when the pandemic started, so it was half in person, half online, and the last semester that I just completed while I was on campus, it was all of my classes were online. I will be reviewing every single one of the classes I have taken. Because St. Lawrence is such a small school, I will not be naming professors' names because positively or negatively, I want to protect their privacy. They didn't ask to be reviewed on a YouTube channel. And then I will also be keeping my negative opinions to a minimum because I want to be positive and as helpful as possible. If you want to read negative opinions or see the darker side of the truth, then go to Rate My Professor. I write reviews on there, so you can head over there to see what St. Lawrence professors are really like. Many of them are completely amazing and I highly recommend them. Also, this is a rosemary tree that I'm sitting next to. It smells delicious. I love it. But this intro is getting to be way too long, so let's get into it. University, I was a freshman, obviously, and I took 4 courses, one of which was the FYP, which is required for all first-year students. It is called the first-year program. And I took a class called African Myth and Reality. My first opinion about the FYP curriculum is I think it's kind of useless. I think students should be able to test out of it. As far as skills that I learned writing at a college level, reading at a college level, researching at a college level, I was already there by the time I got to St. Lawrence and I didn't find that part helpful. However, the actual content in the course I really enjoyed. I signed up for that class to learn more about Africa because I had never really learned about Africa or any of the African countries, and I'm so glad I did. My world was opened up to several different authors. I was able to read them. These include Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie as well as Ngugi wa Thiong'o. You can probably tell by the name of the class, Myth and Reality. I learned about a lot of the stereotypes and the truth and obviously the myth behind them, and that was really important to me, and I was glad I took that class. The next class I took my freshman year was Calculus 2 or Math 136, I believe at St. Lawrence is what it's called. At that point, I thought I could potentially be a math minor or major. Looking back, that's pretty funny now, considering that I am a French and English double major. I will say I really enjoyed that class. I had AP Calc credit from high school, so I decided to take Calc 2. I didn't find the class that hard. I will say the final basically killed me because up until that point I've been doing pretty well. There were also many opportunities to get bonus points, and to my professor I would like to say thank you for that because that really saved me by the end of the course. And there is a small part of me that really enjoys calculus. I like a lot of the aspects of it. I just know that it could never be something I majored in because it's not something I love. Next class I took was Biology 101, and to put it lightly, it was a train wreck. This is definitely the worst class I've taken at St. Lawrence thus far. It was my first and only large lecture style class. There were about 100 kids in my class, which for some people who go to large universities and sit in classes with 500 or more people, that seems like nothing. It wasn't really the size that bothered me. It was the lectures themselves were awful. I did not think the class was very well organized. It wasn't taught very well. This was due to a myriad of reasons, and I don't want to blame anyone because a lot of the faculty and staff were incredibly kind and they tried to be as helpful as possible, but I think Bio 101 just was not meant to be, so I was glad that I could get my AP Bio credit for Bio 102 at St. Lawrence and just bypass that. What I've heard, the first Bio 101 class is horrific, but if you can get through the first year of bio, if you're going to be a bio or a pre-med or whatever major, the upper bio classes are really, really great is what I've heard. Just taking bio 1 really solidified the fact that I'm not going to major in biology. Last class I took my freshman year was French. Intermediate French 103 is what it's called at St. Lawrence. The professor that taught that class is no longer at St. Lawrence. The class wasn't incredible, it wasn't amazing, but it did make me realize I wanted to continue taking French, and now I'm majoring in it. I really enjoy French. I just thought the textbook that we used, which was Imagine, was kind of bad, like really bad. It was not organized well. The course itself was not very difficult, and I found it very interesting to learn about the different cultural aspects, and it made me want to continue and pursue French, so that is definitely a positive. My second semester, I took 4 classes as well. This semester started out in person, and then midway through the semester, it was around week 7 or 8, and we have 15 weeks in a semester. We went home from spring break, and then campus shut down due to the pandemic. So I took these classes half in person and half online. First class I took was the required class, which was the FYS. Mine was called Growing Up Victorian, and I cannot recommend this FYS more. This FYS was significantly better than my FYP. I clicked with my peers better. I felt much more engaged and interested in the material. I am an English major. We read some great pieces of literature, and even the not so great pieces of literature, I just loved discussing and writing about them, and it really made me realize that English is where I need to be. Highly, highly recommend this FYS. It almost never fills up. So if you are currently a freshman, or you will be a freshman and are looking at FYSs, Growing Up Victorian is a stellar FYS. The professor is great. I really enjoyed the class, and I'm so glad I took it. Next class I took was American Lit, or English 237. It's a survey class, and it's part 1. And this was my first official English class that I took at St. Lawrence University, and I loved it. I hadn't really read many of the authors because it was from the inception of America right up until 1865. So those aren't really typical authors that you read in high school, but I really enjoyed it. I read some great authors. I read some not so great authors. But as I was starting to write the papers and discuss with my peers in class, I really realized that I enjoy English so much, and I felt like I finally needed to major in English. Even when we got sent home for the semester, I was still so invested in that class and so excited to be in that class. Based on that class, when I chose my English classes for the next semester, I made sure I had the same professor because I loved that class and the professor. Third class I took was American Politics. This is an introduction class for government 103. Government has always been a love of mine, an obsession. I love policy making and the change that it can create. I find that very fascinating, and it is something that maybe I'd want to be involved with in the future. I really enjoyed the readings in that class. I found them very engaging. I found the discussions interesting, the content interesting. I just felt like I was learning so much. This class was really clicking with some of my interests because, as you could probably tell, in my first semester I didn't take a ton of classes that were the most interesting to me, like bio and calc are clearly not up my alley. And when I told people I wanted to be an English major, they were always like, why are you taking bio and calc? And so in this second semester, I was finally taking classes I was interested in. Only thing that I want to say about this government class, and I'm not sure if this is for all American politics classes that are taught at St. Lawrence, is that I had some of these thoughts during the class, but as I continued to educate myself about issues in this country throughout the summer, I realized that there were some problematic things with the curriculum. Some of the studies done were very old and kind of outdated, and so they had only surveyed like white voters, and they were only focused on white interests. And then the other thing that I thought that at the time when I was taking the class, but the other thing that really stood out to me was part of the American creed that we learned was that because of our high levels of individualism, that corresponds with our high incarceration rates in comparison to other developed countries. And currently I'm actually reading the new Jim Crow, and that's just solidifying my thought that that is just not the case. That's not why we have high incarceration rates or mass incarceration. So I really think that needs to be re-looked at and rediscussed. It might have been this year as things have just shifted and changed in the climate in the classroom, but that was my only thought at the time. And I just felt like that government class was very white and not really looking at the full picture of what America is. And my last class was French 104, which was the same as 103. It was just part 2. I had the same professor, same textbook, same everything. We just continued on. Did really well in that class. It didn't really become more challenging. I just continued to enjoy it, and that really pushed me to decide that I wanted to not minor in French, but major. And now we come to my semester that I just finished, my 3rd semester. I decided that I wanted to take 5 classes because for me personally, it really felt like 4 was not enough. So I decided to take 5 classes this past semester, and they were all online. The first class I took was English 250, which is the required course for all English majors at St. Lawrence University. It's about critical reading and analysis research. And I took one that was focused on Edgar Allan Poe. I hate Poe. I kind of respected him before that, but by the end of this course, I just have zero tolerance for him, which is kind of unfortunate. My research basically led me to have a strong dislike for him, so that's great. But more importantly about this class is that I really, really loved the writing in this class. I loved writing my research paper. It made me so happy. It made me feel like I was finally getting to do what I wanted to do. I will say that having it in an online format really did detract from the discussions we could have had, so that is kind of unfortunate. But I'm really glad I took this class with that specific professor. I loved that class so much, and I am so glad I had the opportunity to take it this fall because it was definitely a highlight for me. Next class I took was a second English class, which is English 243, or Introduction to Creative Nonfiction Writing. After taking this class, I've realized that I am definitely not going to be a creative writing major, minor, or anything like that. I'm definitely staying in the literature side of things. I just should not be a writer because I just don't think I have the mindset for it. I do write. I write quite frequently. I just should not be writing in a classroom. I don't think I'm invested enough, which is just disrespectful to my peers, and so I'm not probably going to take any more creative nonfiction writing classes. That being said, this class was pretty enjoyable. We had some good readings, clear that I am not a creative writer. The textbook seemed pretty pointless for this class, I'm not gonna lie, and a lot of the content seemed pretty self-explanatory, but I did learn some really helpful terms. I wanted to take econ because I thought it would be helpful and relatable in real life. Again, connecting back to government, I'm a little concerned with the lens that we learned things through. It seemed very like Western or like Eurocentric, and I'm a little confused as to the metrics they use for deciding like GDP and like developed versus developing and all that stuff, because it seems a little fishy to me. It seemed like, yeah, it just seemed a little fishy to me. That's my only comment. I need to do more research about that. I don't know enough. So I will say I'm not sure if I appreciate the way that the lens at econ was taught through, but I'm glad I learned several of the terms that I did. Fourth class that I took was accounting because I also thought it would be helpful, and it was very helpful. I learned a lot of terms. I learned how to do a lot of different things. This is accounting 203. I think it's financial accounting is what its official title is. I really enjoyed it. I can see what the allure is. I definitely was kind of falling into the trap of following these steps and filling out the balance sheets and the cash flows. I find that kind of therapeutic because you just follow the same steps over and over again. That's what I like in calc, is when you're solving a problem and you use like the same formula steps. I just find that very soothing or almost therapeutic, but the real challenges in those classes like don't speak to me, so that's why I can't major or focus on those. The format of this class was like actually completely online. It was through a different server, and it was just bad. Like, did I know who my professor was? No. Was there any communication? Very limited. If I reached out, there was communication, which I did do a couple times. But it really felt like I should not be paying what I was paying for that class because I basically taught everything to myself. There were no lectures sent to us. It was just literally read the textbook, do the homework, and that was a little frustrating, but I am glad that I learned the things that I did. I can't really speak to what accounting would be like in a normal semester at St. Lawrence with in-person and with labs, because we didn't have labs either. The last class that I took this past semester was Advanced French, or French 201. That class was a wild ride. There were moments when I was like, should I even major in French? Was I just being romantic and delusional? Because I am known to be like that sometimes. But by the end of the course, I'm so glad I took it. I really think that my French improved quite a bit, specifically my writing. I enjoyed writing the essays. If you can't tell, I'm a big essay person. I love writing and analyzing and thinking critically. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I really enjoyed the final essay that we had to write. I enjoyed several of our class discussions. It was oddly reminiscent of my high school French class, which where we spent a lot of time listening to songs and even watching films, and that's basically what this class centered around, so I really enjoyed that as well. I was exposed to so many great songs that I have now added to playlists. I'm so proud of the essays I wrote as well, which is something I never anticipated, that I would be writing legit essays in French. But those are the 13 classes that I've taken at St. Lawrence University thus far. If you are more curious about specific classes, I totally recommend going on St. Lawrence's website or going on Rate My Professor, as I said. If you have a question about a class that I mentioned in this video, please leave it down in the comments below. I would love to discuss it more. I try to keep this as short as possible. I have a lot to say. Obviously, I'm pretty long-winded in this kind of thing. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you all have a happy holiday season, and I will see you all next week. Ugh.